Sometimes I can't help a friend. Then I remember what I'm meant for. It's so simple, I just say, gotta just celebrate. It's gonna be a-okay. Life's too short to waste away. One step at a time's all it takes.
Welcome,
That's a
everyone.
good tune.
Yes, it's a brand new day and I love it. And it's Tuesday and we get to be here together. I'm Lori Beard, your co-host with Tammy Crawford. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing great. I'm so excited because we have our friend Patty here today.
And she said it's okay to call her the quote queen because her memes, her quotes, everything, they have a sense of humor. They are inspiring, they're thought-provoking, and I just love that. Welcome, Patty. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. It's really exciting to be here because I love following both of you, and it's really exciting to be here. And you're from my part of the world, so I feel a little bit of me is at home today.
That's nice. Well, I've traveled to all of your places you've grown up and you've lived, and they are absolutely gorgeous. I'm not far from any of those areas because I'm up in North Idaho, an hour from Canada. And so where we live looks a lot like British Columbia area.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but like Lori said, Patty has the most amazing quotes. If you follow her, I put one of those on our page today, and I put them on here and there because I just download them and put them on because they are so inspiring and thought provoking. And I just love them. And we are so honored to have Patty here, and we're so honored to have you here. So make sure you share and like. And if for some reason you're trying to share a quote or something on our page and can't, be sure to go to our Unlocking Freedom in Nature page. On that page, you are able to share everything that we post.
Okay,
welcome,
I'm here.
Patty.
Welcome. I'm here looking down, not because I'm looking down, but because I'm excited to look on my phone to our group to see who has joined at our live. So I'm gonna check that out. And I want to ask Patty. She's saying something in the likes. I love the background, which says communication success. Communicate success.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What got you there? What inspired you to found, for you to be the creator of that, and tell us about what you're about.
Well, thanks, Lori, and thank you too, Tammy. And really, it's really great. It's fun. I've been looking forward all day. I've been saying to people, I even had a client that wanted to come at 6. I'm in Dubai, for those of you who don't know, and it's just after 9 o'clock in the evening. And I had a client who wanted to come at 6. I said, no, have to do it tomorrow because I just really wanted to get into the space and be ready. I started out coaching when I was 19, so that was a really long time ago because I was an almost Olympic figure skater in Canada.
Oh,
I trained for many, many years, and when it came to the competition to get to the trials for the team, I missed that by 1/10 of a point. And the truth of the story is that I got into athletics at a very young age because I was born with some kind of disability, but nobody knew what it was. So the doctors back in, because I'm old now, and the doctors back in the 50s and 60s said, put her into sports and she'll grow out of this pain. And I fell in love with skating. And when I was 10 years of age, I knew I wanted to go to the Olympics. So I spent from the age of 10 till 18 very diligently dedicated to going to the Olympics. And also, the thing is that back in those days, my mom, who was a single mom, was paying my coach $10 an hour. And that was in the 60s. So that's good money back then. Now we only got 15-minute lessons at a time. And I actually had to, because my mom was a single mom with 4 kids, I had to do a lot of teaching little kids how to skate because my coach didn't really want to take the time to do that. So I would do that in lieu for my lessons. And when I missed the team by that little fraction, everybody was crying and weeping, but I was quite happy because my body was just breaking down. I mean, I trained 8 hours a day and I loved it. And for any of your audience, or if you've ever been into athletics, you get that burn going. And as long as you've got the burn going, it's good. But for me, when the burn would wear off, the pain was excruciating. So I decided at 18, 19, that I would turn professional. I began coaching. Now, back there in those days, there were no business coaches, there were no communication coaches, there were just athletic coaches. And I'm really glad that I started out in that field, because when you're coaching, I was coaching young kids that wanted to get to the Olympics. So you coach the body, the soul, the spirit, the mind, the whole enchilada, as we say, because when I was training, they didn't really think too much about your spirit or your mind. It was do it again, do it again. But by the time I was training these kids, now they were dressing more warmly than we just went out there in our little tiny skating dresses. But now they were wearing warm-up pants, and there was a whole science. And so I was really grateful that I started at that point. But even still, I kept getting, my body was just getting worse and worse. Now, I was really lucky for two reasons. As I said, I was brought up by a single mom. And there were 4 kids. And every night after dinner, we would put the dishes in the sink to soak in hot, hot, hot water. And then we would have elocution lessons. And we would have public speaking lessons. And she would ask us a question. We had to stand up and answer it. My mom was so smart. She had no education, but she was wise. And she used to say, by God, no one will know my kids come from the wrong side of the tracks. Because it's true. Like the movie My Fair Lady, you know, when you speak well, if you speak poorly, people will frown upon you. Let me put it that way. And also, when I was in grade 11, I went to Catholic school, and one of the nuns said to me, you know, you're a really good writer and you're a really good communicator. So in case this skating thing doesn't work out, don't forget you have the skills of a communicator. And I'm like, yeah. Never mind. I'm going to the Olympics. Never mind, right? And sure enough, when it all fell apart, there was still the voice of Sister Mary Carmel. What a sweet name. And my mama. Mom always said, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so I began very disabled, not even able to walk properly. And I had to do something. By this time, I had a child and I had to make a living. So I began working with master's degree students and PhD students, helping them stylize their theses and their dissertations, and because they didn't know how to write. And it was really great because I didn't have a university education, but I was doing all the studying so I could help them. So I got into studying on my own. And then I realized now they've got to go defend, and they've got to stand up in front of the committee. So then I started teaching them how to stand up and speak. And this was really the beginning of my career as a communication coach. And then people always used to say to me, you know, Patty, you got a really good voice for radio. And I always wondered, like, does that mean I don't have a very good face for TV? But never mind. So about 1990, because this is like a number of years later, the illness was just progressing and progressing. And I thought, well, no matter how sick I get, I still have this voice. So I was now living in Toronto at the time, and I enrolled in the National Institute of Broadcasting. It was 1990, as I say, and I enrolled in radio and television presenting. And at some point, we came to a fork in the road where we had to pick, would it be TV or would it be radio? And I chose radio because I discovered the voice was my next art for self-expression. Because figure skating clearly is self-expression, but nonverbal. The music is on and you're just out there performing away. And so they all kept compounding. And then I became a journalist, a radio journalist, and it just kept building quite serendipitously. Like I didn't have a plan. I always say I'm just stumbling towards enlightenment, and I'll get there by the time I'm done living. So that's kind of how it went. And I traveled around the world a lot trying to help myself get better. Because Western medicine was failing me. And when I came back from all those studies, I was in a support group, and the nurse that was the head of it, she was a Buddhist, and she was also the head of the BC Nursing Foundation. And she said, you have a really interesting story. Because I'd traveled to all these countries, Belize and Papua New Guinea and Central America, all the Caribbean, all over the place. And she said, you have a really interesting story. Would you like to tell it? So I spoke at the conference. I had to read everything. Hello, my name is Paddy Kennedy. I even had to read my name, for heaven's sake. And one thing just kept leading to another and to another. And before you know it, I was asked to speak in New York. And then it all just came together. Coaching, it went way into coaching leaders, coaching professional speakers, and always bringing back this beautiful, magnificent instrument of the human voice. And so that's kind of the abbreviated story. It's 52 years of coaching. So I got to give it the in the nutshell. But that's how I got to here. And I really, get asked to speak here, get asked to speak there. And the next thing you know, I'm living here in the Middle East, having a really beautiful time.
I
Well,
love that, Patty.
congratulations.
Yes, yes. And you're emphasizing something very unique in a sense of you think of voice and you think of a singer, opera singer,
Yeah.
someone that sings. And I
Yeah.
love that there's a little twist, a little shift here in the aspect of is your voice because you're you're having free expression, and is your voice because you are speaking up, speaking out, and showing up for the audiences and telling them amazing messages. And two things from your amazing story is that sometimes we're obsessed and we're one-track minded, which it can be beneficial for those that can accomplish XYZ. At the same time, it's my understanding then that it was something out of your control, which it was some physical condition. And
Yeah.
then when we grasp ourselves into an identity, this is who I am, this is what I am, and this is and only is, then something happens and then the world crashes because this is their own identity. And this is like, who am I now? Because football player, it happens a lot with athletes, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It happened
Mm-hmm.
with me as a mom, full-time mom. I'm like, if I'm not a mom, what else am I? And people go through that with empty nesters, like, okay, who are you? A total stranger with their partner because they've been so focused in just the one thing. So how can you, what can you tell us on all this external input feedback you were listening, which it was very consistent from your mom, from the teacher, the nun, etc., about this other talents you had or skills, and how that helped you in a time where you didn't go this direction, then you needed to shift and redirect.
Well, it wasn't as easy as it sounds when I give the nutshell rendition of it. I, for a long time, bought what doctors and medical people said, which is you're permanently disabled, you're never going to work. And I got into the saying no. And this is one of the most important lessons I learned, because no, I can't do that. No, I can't eat that. No, no, no. And then one day a friend of mine was visiting and she said, this business of you believing you're disabled is really causing you a lot of trouble. You're not disabled, you're just differently able.
Love
And
that.
you need to start saying yes. And I started saying yes. And boy, oh boy, everything changed because I realized you can't identify by what you aren't anymore.
Mm.
We're always evolving. We're always growing, at least hopefully we're always evolving and growing. And so I really learned to grow. Listen, there was one story that I tell that the day I really grew up, I guess. I had, because being a figure skater and in the arts, I have many, many gay men friends. And it was back in the days when a lot of them were passing away from AIDS. And I remember going to see a very dear friend of mine named Russell. He had been a big man, and now he was just this little skinny toothpick, and he's wrapped up in his blanket, and it was cold and wintry. And I went to visit him, and I was just sitting there. I thought I was doing a really good thing because my intention was to go visit him. But I guess I was just talking about all the things I can't do, and nobody knows the trouble I've seen. But I didn't know I was telling my narrative that way until he said to me, "You know what, Patty? I don't want you to come visit me anymore." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Because I'm sitting over here dying, and you can get up and walk away from here, and all you're doing is complaining." Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That really, and it was shortly after that my girlfriend said, "You've got to get over this. You're differently abled." I mean, when Russell said that to me, and we were able to make amends, and I was able to go back to see him before he passed away. But there's nothing like a big smack in the face like that to get you to change your narrative in a hurry. So that was kind of the way that and I started to focus on what I could do, and I am differently abled. So nobody can tell. Every once in a while, I might get a limp because I still live with this condition. But nobody, for the most part, nobody can tell. if I'm working collaboratively with somebody, I need to tell them, because you never know, it could hit me and I might not be as energetic as I normally am. But other than that, you really can't tell, because I just want to, and that's the most important, that's the takeaway from the story. You change your narrative, you know, when your kids leave home. When my son left home, I thought, I'm not an empty nester. You know what? It's a grammar change. I was a verb mom. I was an action mom. And now I'm a noun mom. They don't need my action. They just need me to be a noun. Be there and just, you know, and I really just a grammar change. It's just change the narrative whenever you can, because, you know, I hear young people say, oh, I'm 35 and I have to reinvent myself. Oh my goodness, I'm 71 and I'm reinventing myself all the
All
time.
the
That's
time.
what life is.
Exactly. It's the mindset. It's being that positive mindset. And you used an art, you used your voice, and using your voice, like you said, you're concentrating more on the art of speaking and using it in that way, or you know, it's like singers. There's so many different types of arts out there, but it helps you to heal. I think Lori and I were talking about this a week or so ago, how people get in this negative mindset. It's almost like a bad habit. And we can get ourselves in that. And especially if we're around negative people, or we're turning on the news and seeing all kinds of bad stuff all the time, then it's like this feels sorry. You know, like you said, it's like no matter what we're dealing with, we have to look at the positive side and look at what we can do, not what we can't do or can't eat. It's like, no, I can still eat this. I can still do this. And the other thing I notice is I see people running to the doctors for every little treatment. I have some friends, you know, and I'm like, but why? You know, I understand if you're really, really sick, but it's like, okay, yeah, you got a fever or you got, you know, stub your toe. It doesn't mean you have to go in.
And what we're saying, I think Tammy and I agree that no matter if you have that medication that you need, hopefully you're not only going to rely on that, and you're going to make other habit changes, lifestyle changes that will help enhance or make that medication work, right? With all these new things. And Patty, I love the grammar reference, noun and verb, because even if it's a verb, this is my little thing that I tell my kids: are you going to whine or are you going to win?
I love that.
Like whine, 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 murmur, 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 you know, poor me, this and that is somebody else's fault, is the teacher's fault, whatever. No, you need to own up to it. You need to realize, you know, that, you know, wow, that was a slap on your face, Addie, but yeah, that's a good friend. I hope you're still good friends with that person.
Well, he passed a long time ago, but he's always in my heart.
Yes, because those things, and the same as your mom and the nun was telling you those voices, and eventually then I'm very ready or eager to hear what you have to say about when you had that awakening, like Mahima was teaching us last week, is that sometimes we need those moments where somebody shakes us into shape, like stop, like whether that is another experience, whether that's even a video or a movie, like that person could. I love the movies that are based on reality of somebody that the hero's journey kind of thing, like they were in the darkest, deepest moment of their lives, and they, like Phoenix, you know, they rose from the ashes. So so that, you know, win or whine, are you going to murmur or are you going to do more? Are you going to become bitter or better? Are you going to turn your mess into your message? Yeah, you're going to turn your mess into your message, complain or appreciate. All this stuff that it's been delivered in different ways nowadays, that we need to at some point stop ourselves and realize, okay, something's got to change here. So then what happened? Then how did that hit you hard? Did it take a long time? Was it a whole process, or was it like
it's a process? It's a process. But you know, my love of quotations, of quotes. I mean, when I think it all started when I was about 17, and I forgot to silence my phone, and I'm just getting.
Oh, you're.
Let me get it out there.
I want to say hello to Olivia. She's watching. Olivia Smith, we love you. I'm glad you're here, connecting with us.
When I was 17, I saw a quote that said, and I'm paraphrasing, some people die at how does it go? Some people die at 20, but no, some people die at 70, but are buried at 20, meaning that we give up way too. I saw that quotation when I was 17 and I wrote it down. And ever since then, I have, like, all around my desk here, I always have books of quotations. That's where I get all my memes from. I wake up in the morning and I think, oh, what did so and so say about this? Let me Google it. And then I find that sometimes I make the meme myself, but usually I find them. And so they're really important because I use them too. And I don't post them like I'm the guru of them. I'm posting what I need to remember. It's about me too. It's not just like I'm all this in a bag of chips and you all need this. No, no, no. I need to remind myself of those things, but it is a process, but everything is a process. Life is a process. Bob Proctor used to say you can't plant and harvest in the same season. Everything is the process and the growth is the process. So just because you have an aha moment today doesn't mean it's going to be all fixed tomorrow. I mean, I think we all know we go in a spiral, like you think you've got something all worked out and figured out, and then the next thing you know, bam, it's back again. Like, no, 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 I already did this work. Yeah, but now we're at a deeper level because everything moves kind of in this spiral. So everything is a process. Learning voice is a process. I've been studying voice for 30 some years now, and I'm still studying it. It's the most incredible instrument. And I could study for the rest of my life. So everything is a process. And I think this is one issue, especially for the young kids, because I grew up in the days, and maybe you remember, like before bank machines, like you took your money out of the bank on Friday, you had to make it last till Monday.
Yes.
There were no bank machines. And I go out without my phone. I love to go out without my phone. Sometimes I take it because I want to count my steps. But if I don't have to count my steps, and people are like, how could you leave your phone at home? What if there's an emergency? Well, what if when I was a kid, we had a party line? There were 8 people with the same phone number, but ours was 2 rings and theirs was 3 rings. And then, then we had the phone that was hooked to the wall. I mean, it's all, even that's a process. So I think that we've got to get it through our head that just because you want it, I mean, there's quantum physics. Sometimes it'll happen in a nanosecond. That's true. But for the most part, we got to go through step by step. You learn to walk and then you learn to run. You learn to coo, and then you learn to talk. I mean, it's always a process. And I think that that's something that I really want people to remember, that it just isn't, there is magic. I don't want to, there are magical things that happen, but for the most part, you got to get up and you got to sit down and you got to go through the process of doing, learning, whatever. And I think too, one thing that really we forget, and again, my mom was so smart. We're so into, what do you do? We're so into being human doings. And my mom used to kind of embarrass me, but we'd go someplace and she didn't really care what you did. She'd say, so who are you when you're at home? She always wanted to know who you were. She didn't really care what you did. And now I look back and I think she was so wise, because I really want people to remember, you got to grow. You got to wake up. We're all stumbling towards enlightenment. We're all going to the final breath. And are we making use of our gifts? If you watch Les Brown, you were born with greatness in you. You got to be hungry. All of those things that he says, and he's absolutely spot on. And we must work towards it. I think when things come too quickly, people don't really appreciate it the same way. But when you get up and you give it your best effort, I think you really appreciate, in my long 52 years of coaching now, it's a long time, but I can't even tell you, I love it more and more every day, because every day there's somebody, and I learn from my clients. I mean, I become the coach I am because of my clients, not because of some course I took, but because of my clients. And I have one big dream and one big goal, and I always say this to people, that when I die and meet my maker, I just want to get there and say, all those gifts that you gave me, I gave them all away. I'm coming home with an empty
that is
tank.
beautiful. That's
It
leaving a
is.
That's my
legacy.
goal.
And it was kind of, you reminded me, a quote that I had put on from a pastor had put on. years ago is our greatest fear should not be a failure, but of succeeding at things in life that don't really matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which people that, when you look at quotes, I'm like, that means so much because if all you're doing is sitting all day watching TV, does that really matter? Were you learning? Were you helping somebody? Were you doing, it's like you have this gift of life today. Go and do something with
Exactly.
it. Don't stop learning, start help somebody. And when you help somebody, like you said, that's when we learn the most.
Absolutely. Mary Morrissey and all of them, they say you got to give to get. James McNeil, one of my favorite teachers, who's now actually a colleague of mine, he says deserve. The de comes from the old Latin from serving. Got to serve. You got to give. This is another thing that I learned in my life that helped me get over the nobody knows the trouble I've seen. I mean, everybody's got troubles. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they don't have them, right? And one of the teachers I had many years ago said, when you start to give, you will forget what's wrong. And you will, and when you give, Bob Proctor says, wise people know that the gift of giving is in the giving. It's the feeling you get when you give. It's not about if I've given, it'll come back 10 times. That bugs me. It's like, it's
Is
not
the
a transaction.
joy
It's
in
the
in
joy.
the action
The
of
gift is to give and to watch that person, or not, maybe they don't even appreciate it, but it's that feeling you get, And so Mary Morrissey always says that all the time. You can't come from abundance. You have to go to abundance, and you get there by giving. And that's why recently somebody asked me to speak on the law of attraction. I said, no, I won't. I'll speak on the law of vibration, because
I
the law of
love that.
attraction is a secondary law, but the law of vibration is the one that really matters. Yeah.
Exactly.
You should
Well,
always keep learning. I've been coached since I was 10, and I still have coached Kane Minkus and his beautiful wife, Alessia. The program I do for women, I was in a session one night with Kane, and I was talking about my leadership program and strategic communication. He said, Patty, when you talk about women and voice, you just light up. Why don't you do that? And that was what started my program, Your Brave Voice, which is a program for women to get their courage to speak, and then how to play their magnificent instrument. I mean, and still at this age, I have many coaches. And even though Bob Proctor's gone, I've studied with him since the early 90s. I knew him fairly well. I loved him. I've listened to him still. I'm always being coached. We must keep learning. We don't have to. You don't have to do anything. You can sit on the couch all day and eat potato chips if you want, if that's what floats your boat. But you're going to be really miserable. And I
exactly.
think being disabled and being that, no, I can't do it. All of this is a gift. Everything that happens to us is a gift, because there are no mistakes. So I now focus on what I can do and what I love to do. And I don't ever think anymore of what I can't do. I mean, okay, I'm never going to become an Olympic skier. I'm not even going to become an Olympic skater. That ship has sailed. There's so much more that I can do. And so I really want people to change that mindset, and to anything that's negative, a marriage breakup, anything that happens to you, there's a lesson, there's a gift in them. And if you look at what you're getting, your takeaway from me, from being disabled, and I had a tough childhood. Listen, as a coach, and nothing that just knocks me. My dear, beautiful little brother committed suicide. All these things that would break you, and I just go, well, I mean, listen, I wish you were here. It's going to be his 65th birthday this week. I was like, no way. He's been gone since he was 25. I was thinking about him this morning, thinking it'd be funny to see him at this age. But it was one of the hardest things I went through. But you know what I learned from that? Like, girl, if you don't know what you're doing here, then you're just wasting time. So everything that we get given to us, there's something in there to wake us up and to take us closer to home, to our home, in our heart and our soul. So, for your audience that's listening, and I mean, we all get into depressions and whatnot, and I'm not saying it's nothing. Depressions are real. I've had them. But when we wade through them, and when we believe in ourselves, and when we have faith, we come out better. You get better or bitter. Choice is yours, right? And I prefer better. It's a lot more fun to live being better.
Yeah,
Because in
the
the old
same,
days, I was bitter.
yeah, the same water that hardens some things, it softens others, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the same boiling hot water, and it depends on and the lens we choose to see things through. And I love that Tammy and I, we have a big pillar for us is the power of positivity. Breathing positivity, exhale, possibilities,
yep,
like when you're
yep,
positive. And I have something here that kind of explains the meaning of positivity, and it goes to something that you just said, Patty. Positivity is a mindset that incorporates optimism and acceptance, like
yep,
accepting. And to me, acceptance comes a little bit with surrender. Correct me if you're wrong, if I'm
yes,
wrong. Like
yep,
surrendering that plan that you have, that desire to
yep,
control some outcomes, those
yep,
expectations. And so when we have a positive mind, it's different from happiness. It continues explaining this quote, which is a mood that comes and goes. But it doesn't matter if I'm not happy right now and I'm sad or worried, because that's the difference between these things that I have around me that are things without emotion. But then at the same time, we continue seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, right?
yep,
No matter how
yep,
we're feeling, and how we stumble upon whatever it is that is in that long tunnel.
yep,
But when we continue seeing that there's an exit, there's a light there, or there's something we're learning about this process, like you were saying, this process, this adversity, this opposition, that is when we have adopted and adapted this positive mindset where optimism and acceptance is our choice. It's a better choice.
yeah. And being positive doesn't mean that you're just like happy, happy, happy all the time.
Yeah.
Very
You've
different
hit
from
the
that.
nail right on the head, Lori. It's
Mhm.
just knowing, what is it? John Lennon said it. Everything works out in the end, and if it hasn't worked out, it's because it's not the end.
I
I
love
And I
that.
love
always
that.
remember that because things do work out in the end. You go back, to a year ago, and you think, "Oh, I thought that was going to do me in." But you look back and you go, oh, "There's always things work out."
Yeah.
Or it's kind of like that one song. It's a country song or a song about God. Thank God for unanswered prayers, because sometimes we think we
They
want
keep us
something,
humble.
and then we find out later that, oh, and it didn't happen, and we're like, oh gosh, why didn't it happen? And then we're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that
Yeah,
it didn't.
yeah. It's like we get saved from ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really true. It's really true.
I,
Mindset is everything.
I think for those that are believers in Jesus Christ, etc., I bet it was so hard for him to decide how or who and when to perform miracles, or because it's so hard. It's such a fine line between showing what he was able and capable of doing, or this person doesn't need this right now, or this is a trial this person needs, versus and the miracles right now, if we believe in the divine and things like that, and like those unanswered prayers, we're like, you again, with the bitter or better, you can get resentful, because you feel so entitled that you deserve something, just when you want it, how you want it. Or you can just, it keeps you humble, right? Like, it didn't happen for
Yeah,
me, that thing didn't happen for me, that miracle, that tender mercy, that thing
yeah.
that I want, that position in my job, or whatever it is just very hard sometimes for the human mind to comprehend. But the more we accept, the more we humble ourselves and submit or surrender to the universe's will according to our efforts, the better it's going to be for us.
And it's one of the hardest things. Like Wayne Dyer says, one of the biggest problems that people in manifesting have, and I've experienced this, like if it doesn't come on time, then we think, well, it's not the right thing. Like in the old days, people say, just let go and let God. And I'd say, God is one of the worst bankers in the world because he doesn't seem to know that my rent is due. And it's true, right? But the fact is, James McNeill always says everything is perfect and everything is improving. And I
Yeah.
really like that because inside of ourselves, that godlike person, that piece of creator that we
Right.
are, is perfect.
Yeah.
And then we're human. And that's so everything is perfect and everything is improving. So we have that perfection. Not, I don't like, when I work with women, especially, I say, Get rid of this notion of being perfect unless you want to sabotage yourself. Because it's the best way to sabotage yourself is to aim for perfection. And moms and housewives, when we get into that, we just it's got to be perfect. Everything got to be perfect, and there is no perfect. But there is a part inside of us that is already perfect. There's a part of us, I believe, that knows every answer that we're ever going to need. But then we got this brain and this mind and the doubt and all that
That's
other
deep.
gunk. And so when James says everything is perfect and everything is improving, that really brings me peace. He also says, I am living on purpose and I am right on schedule.
So, yeah. I love
Comes me
James.
right now.
I got to meet him in Scottsdale last June, and
Oh yeah.
he's
Yeah.
amazing. And like you said, he puts off when you're around positive people. And I was blessed to be down there because there was so much positive energy. You know, I mean, just the hugs and it was amazing. The words. So I came back and I was just energized, even though I was working down there, but just being around, listening, and meeting people like James was awesome.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Patty, that
He
that
really
leads
is.
me that leads me to ask you about vibration. Like Tammy was probably physically exhausted, but she was probably energized because of all that positivity and all that amazingness. So, yeah, tell us about vibration and why do you like that before the law of attraction? I meaning like you would like to teach it before.
Well, because really the law of attraction is the secondary law to the law of vibration. And for me, it's just me because I'm old school. But I hear, and I only just saw The Secret recently, and it's good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really into serving. And I'm not, I mean, I can't say I'm not into receiving. We give greatly and we receive graciously. And that's sort of how it should be. But when it's the law of attraction, people, well, I'll do this. I want $1 million and I want the house and I want this and I. But it doesn't matter. The law of vibration doesn't care what your words. As a matter of fact, I want the house, I want this, I want that is all coming from lack. Because that I need, I want is saying to the universe, I don't have. So the whole thing about the law of vibration is it's about your feelings, not your words. If you ever watch Esther Hicks, she's like, we spend so much time on what we don't want. And that's the wrong vibration. We need to train ourselves to be focusing on what it is that we do want. And all of the greats, from Neville Goddard, Shakti Gawain, all the people that teach visualization, you visualize as if you already have it. I'm so happy and grateful now that whatever, fill in the blank. That's the Bob Proctor school. Always, I am so happy and grateful now that, and you put yourself in that as if it's already accomplished, because that's the feeling. But when I hear so many people say, well, the law of attraction, and I'm writing my affirmations, and I'm going to get that house, and I'm going to get that. I'm like, well, you're probably, and then I don't know why it's not working, because you're practicing you're going at it, in my opinion, from the wrong way. And you've got to really believe it, first of all, because the universe it's all vibration. Everything is vibrating. The power of the voice, Lori, is because it's a vibration. The voice is considered the most magnificent of all the instruments, because it's at the same time, it's a wind instrument, like an oboe, because the sound is made as the air comes across the vocal cords. But it's like a Stradivarius violin, because the vocal cords vibrate. And it's that vibration, it's the resonance of the voice. I'm so fascinated by the voice, that the vibrational or the resonant quality of the voice actually can go into the imagination and the brain of your listener and create new neural pathways, new synapses. The vibration can help your audience think about what you're talking about in ways that they would never have thought of before. Everything is vibration. When you hear a good speaker, you get a good feeling. The best message that communicates success is make sure your audience feels your words, feels your message. Les Brown always says, and I've got it right over here, don't make the mistake of saying, focusing on what you want to say, but think about what your audience wants to hear and needs to hear. And so many people come to me as speakers and they say, but what if I forget my words? And what if I forget? So what if I told you it's not even about you?
I
What if I
love
tell
that.
you that you're just the messenger and it's really all about your audience? So what do you want your audience to feel? And then once you get the voice going, it's phenomenal. It's amazing what happens and why I'm so passionate with women. See, as soon as I raise my shoulders, you hear I lose the bottom part of my, it gets tinny. So I was at an event last International Women's Day here in Dubai, and a woman starting a brand new beautiful initiative. And she had a man as the MC. And men are lucky because they have a more resonant voice. It's a deeper, so their voice carries and it vibrates. And women, we especially if we get nervous, the voice can tend to go high. So he was great. I can still remember everything he said. And then she came up, God love her. It was like fingers going down the chalkboard. This screech, and I'm not kidding, people were actually going like that. And nobody knew what the initiative was. Because you couldn't listen to her. Because you get nervous, and then if you're not aware of the vibe, but when you learn how to vibrate the voice, get those little tiny vocal cords vibrating, now your audience will feel what you're saying. I'm giving a workshop the first weekend in March here with a colleague of mine, and it's the neurochemistry of storytelling, although we're not calling it that. The magical science of storytelling, and how the voice can contribute to eliciting oxytocin, endorphins, whatever imagine CEOs understanding that how they can use storytelling and their voice to elicit responses from their staff or from their audience. I mean, it's a superpower. This is a superpower that people aren't aware of. And I'm just really passionate about people learning it so that when we doing what we're doing right now, if people aren't listening, if they're not feeling what we are saying, they are on their phone. And everybody might as well just stay at home, put your feet up and chill because nobody's paying attention anymore. And I'm really passionate about women. I love men. I work with men. But I'm really in the Middle East. There's a beautiful market for women here because they're really rising up. And you should know there are more CEOs in the boardroom in Saudi Arabia and UAE than there are in North America per capita. Women are really rising up here. And there's tons and tons of money being invested in women because they really are in the vanguard in many ways. And I look at this crazy world and all these wars, you can't even keep up to them now. I mean, you put on the news for 5 minutes, it's like all these men, these leaders are all competing to see who can get the headline on the news. Is it going to be Sudan? Who's it going to be this week? And I'm like, where are the women? And I'll tell you, recently for the United Nations, the talk of the last ceasefire proposal was put forward by a young woman from the UAE, an Emirati woman, no hijab, just looking like us. And she was there just using her voice. And I was so very proud of her to see her defend the world that way. And I think that one of the problems in 1993, I interviewed the Dalai Lama and when I was doing my journalistic stuff. And we had a good conversation. And I said to him, what do you think is the greatest peril, danger facing humanity? And he said, it's men in power and their love of war toys that will take us to the brink of destruction. And it will be the women of the world who will bring us back. And I said, how? And he said, with your voices. And that's what planted the seed for me. But it was 1993. We didn't have the internet. Nobody knew me. But I just kept building and building and building. And so I keep him in mind. And even now, the Pope, who's not the most progressive dude in the whole wide world, did say on New Year's Day that the world needs to look to mothers and women to take us back to peace because it's the way we see the world. And so there's a great shortage of women in these important positions. And when we educate women, there's that saying out of Africa, when you educate a man, you educate one person. But when you educate a woman, you educate the whole village.
In
So I
generations to
want to
come.
educate the gals so they can educate families and we can keep educating everybody.
Yeah.
before I leave this planet, I would like to see some change, some movement forward. And I think it's time for women. I think the time has never been better than it is now. I still work with men, and I'll always work.
You
But
know,
I
one of
have
the
this.
things I'm hearing from you, Patty, too, is besides the fact that anybody's interested should definitely follow you and attend one of your workshops. But I think one of the things as a woman I have found is having coaches and mentors in our lives. That's where we're learning the most, not in our public education systems, because they're just teaching you to work with somebody else. They're not teaching you how to speak, to stand up for yourself, to really encourage you to see in that positive mindset into everything you've said. I just love it how you use your voice. I mean, if they taught that in the schools, think of how they should, like Mahima said last week. It would be nice if we taught kids, kindness matters. And like you said, there's no, if you call names or you're yelling at people, then it's a punishment, not a reward.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so there's just that different level. And it would be nice to see that women were being encouraged, and guys, how to respect, how to love, how to be more kind, compassionate, to be more understanding, to see both sides of a story, not just their side, and to take that I out and realize it's a team effort with everybody. We have to work together. So,
yeah, yeah. I love old Ram Dass, who used to be known as Richard Alpert until he went to India. He worked with Timothy O'Leary way back in the 60s in the psychedelic movement. They were psychologists at Harvard. They both got kicked out of Harvard. And now, of course, we're looking at psilocybin mushrooms and whatnot for psychological work. But anyway, he ended up going off to India and spent a long time in India. And I followed him since I was a kid. And he's got a quotation that I love. We're all just walking each other home. And every time I think of that quotation, it's all we're doing here. We're just walking each other home. And let's just be kind. I mean, a lot of my posts are about kindness because it's the vibration too, huh? The vibration these quotes are really important to me. That's why I post them, because it's my little opportunity to give my voice out there and make an impact. Now, you'd be surprised how many people message me and fight with me and say
really?
terrible things. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
That's
They think I'm
sad.
a
It is.
fake.
You'd be
Well,
surprised at what? How many people message you for what?
they think they don't like what I'm posting.
Oh no, girl. Oh no.
I love your quotes, and I even told you how I love them. But I've actually, I usually get the opposite. I usually get people saying, "Thank you for putting that quote out
Mhm.
there today, because it helped me. I was so down." But I have had times where people like, "Was that quote about me?" And it's like,
Ah,
I haven't
Yeah,
talked to you for a week, so how would that be
well,
about
if they felt
you?
if they felt they needed it, it's because it was for them.
it resonated with them.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
I,
know a lot of people. I mean, people say beautiful things to me but then I get these messages. And if they get too much, you have to delete them. I can't. I gotta keep my own self up here going, right?
Right.
But it's really important that we spread that kind of message. And I don't really care if people don't like it, knock yourself,
Hmm.
because I
Keep
know
scrolling. Keep scrolling. Yeah. Hmm.
there's people on there I've never met in person, but this one had cancer, so I did some qigong meditation with her. I never met her, and I know now. I know, oh, she's gonna love this one, and sure enough, she does, right? And I get to know it. And if I'm sick or if I miss, people then message, "Are you okay? I haven't seen any posts." And then I have other people say, "You post way too much." Well, not everybody sees everything.
no.
I just do it. Don't. There's no too much. Quit criticizing. It's just love.
Well,
Usually people that criticize is because they're not doing anything and except for just nitpick and just
Criticizing.
that's
find
all they're
someone to.
doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
Anyway,
love your quotes.
those who can't criticize, right? And those who do, who can, they just keep on going. But it's always those who can't or aren't even trying. Those are the ones often that criticize.
like I said, many are inspirational, many are so true, like, oh my goodness, I needed that, or oh, it was a slap on my face, or what a lesson to learn. And many are humorous, which it
Yeah, some
also
of them are really funny.
reveals like, oh yeah, she has a fun and amazing sense of humor too, and that's who you are, and that is how you're showing up in the world. And we aren't, I tell people, I'm not a chocolate chip cookie for everybody to like. So it's okay if somebody, it doesn't, sink in well with them. And that's life though. But you feel the call to share, you feel the call to inspire. And what we teach, excuse me, what we teach is what we need to learn the most, or reinforce, or
Exactly.
remember the most. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I just love that. I just love that.
I
I go
I was
ahead,
gonna say,
Tammy.
I never skip your quotes. I read every one of them because they always have so much meaning. I skip the through because I mean, I have, like you, I have a lot of followers and see a lot of posts, but the people that sit and complain
Mhm.
or have negative stuff, I skip through those anymore. Or
Yeah.
you just like, okay, I'm gonna unfollow because I only want to see
Yeah.
positive posts. I don't want to
Exactly.
hear about all your problems you're going through today. If you
Yeah.
have a prayer request, yeah, let's just say, hey, I have a prayer request, or direct message me, and that's fine. Or if it's
Yeah.
occasionally something, but, and we've had people write negative things before. I delete them just like you because I don't.
Sometimes I do. Yeah. And sometimes I do. There's one guy, I don't even know who he is. And if I post something about Dubai or the Middle East, I'll never go there. Good. Good for you. I
Nobody's
don't, what
inviting
can you
you.
say?
And
Exactly.
after what you told us before the show, I want to come.
Yeah, it's a really it's a great place. It's everybody in the world. It's changing it's growing very, very quickly, but it is a wonderful place. But I'm glad that you like the quotations, and I'm glad that people do, because as I was saying, like I put my work on LinkedIn. If you want to know what I'm doing professionally, look on LinkedIn. Okay, if I get in a newspaper or something, I put that up on Facebook, because sometimes it surprises me. I get media and I'm like, wow. So I put that up. But if I were to put up, like I posted something about the storytelling workshop, and if I put it on Facebook, there'll be a couple of likes. So I don't really, it's not, I don't want Facebook to be too much about me. I want it to be about the audience, because I've been there. I've been really down. I've been sick. I've been hopeless. I've been all of those things. And I want to now just let people know, look, I'm here and you can always message me. And I always do that. I always make myself available to talk. And I just want people to know that you can shine light. And that's all I want to do on Facebook is shine light. You're like, you got to get on Instagram and you got to get on TikTok. I'm like, well, for God's sake, I'm 71 years of age. Look, I teach my students how to use ChatGPT. I think that's very Google of me that I'm that hip. I don't want to do TikTok. Do I have to do TikTok? Why can't I just?
Maybe because many of the younger generation that's on that platform,
Oh, but like you said, it takes so much time. I
it's
mean,
time consuming, and you need to
last week,
choose.
I don't know if you're taking the AI class from Kane, Patty, on
Not the full one, but
the prompt engineering. And last week in class, because I've been keeping up with it all too, he was talking about how to use these different ones. And there's this one new one that they have that you put it in once and it goes to any social media. It goes and adds it and changes it. And I'm
oh,
like, oh, I'm buying that one because it'll save time. Because it
yeah.
does, but sometimes, like you said, I'm just sitting there, see a beautiful quote. And it's like, oh, I'm going to share that quote because that hit me just right today. So I
Yeah, I
love it.
get up in the morning and I just check, okay, how do I feel? A lot of them are in my memories from over the years.
Mm.
And others I go, oh, I think about Gerald Jampolsky, love is letting go of fear. Oh, or sometimes Mother Teresa. Not that I'm a big Mother Teresa fan, because she had a negative side to her too. And when I post, a lot of people say, she was a bitch. Like, yeah, but she also
She has
did
some
said some nice
beautiful,
things. Everybody's got both heads. So a lot of times I just think, I just sit and I meditate for a moment and I think, what do I think the world needs to hear today? And then I just go for it. But it does mean a lot to me. I do it before anything. I get up, I make my coffee, I do my Facebook, and then I write because I like to write before I talk. But while I'm drinking my coffee, I just do my Facebook, and I love it. And
I do the same thing.
Patty, I'm so happy you said that. How can I inspire somebody today or whatever, instead of how can I cause trouble today? That's not your intention. And if it rubs
yeah,
off the wrong way to somebody, that's not
yeah,
how you want
yeah.
to do it.
Sometimes too, there was one woman from India, and I think, we coming from North America, from the Western world, we do have the privilege of education.
Mhm.
And so you get some people that are brought up in little villages somewhere, and maybe they only have a couple of years education, and then there's me posting all these things. And this one woman, she messaged me, and I finally had to just block her because you think you're so smart, I can't even understand. And I wanted to say, well, why don't you read a book? But then I looked and where's she from? And she's from some little itty bitty place in India. And I'm thinking, Patty, leave her alone. Like, just leave her alone. She doesn't need you harping at her. But she came at me really nasty. And finally, I couldn't get her to stop. And so I just blocked
Good,
her.
good.
And
Those are
then
the
let it
things
go.
we have control over, right?
Exactly,
Instead
exactly.
of getting
Rather
into the
than,
fight.
there's no point getting mad at her. I mean, she just didn't understand the post, and it would be very simple for us to understand. I know this because, in this part of the world, we have a recycling issue. Trying to get people to understand that the green bin is for recycling and the black bin is for the garbage, right? But when you have people that come from places in the world where they leave home because there's no job and everybody's living in abject poverty, and they come here and they live, a whole bunch of them, in one room because that's the way it is, and you realize, you know, I'm not going to expect this person to understand that the green bin is for the plastic bottles and the black bin is for the garbage. I'm not going to, because it's just, I realize, and I'm not into white privilege. I mean, we have privilege. We do, but I'm talking about the privilege of coming from a part of the world where we have education, where we all know how to read, where most of us, it's expected that we're going to go through 12 years of school. It's the odd one out that doesn't do the 12 years. Where in a lot of these places, they're working by the time they're 8 or 9 or 10. They don't have the opportunity that we have. So I just learn a lot. Just calm down, just be. So with this woman, she was just coming at me, and her spelling was really bad, and I just thought, let her go.
Patty, you chose
Just,
compassion, you chose peace. And when you think about it too, and it could have been someone with education that could have come the same way at you.
that's true.
And it
That's
comes from a
true.
place of pain because they're not
You're
happy, or
right.
because the messages don't sink in well, because they're so bitter inside, and they have so
Yeah,
much hurt and pain and so many wounds, that maybe that quote triggered, and the
could
scab,
be. Could
and
You're
then
absolutely
the
right.
wound kind of came open, and I don't like this, and they don't the vibration is not there, right? Speaking
Yeah,
of
yeah,
vibration, she's vibrating at a different energy, at a different speed, different level, lower, whatever we want to call it. It's not as your vibration. So that's why then, tell me if this is right, the law of attraction comes in, because then like attracts like, etc.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
and
But
then you
you know,
chose peace, you chose compassion, and like you did the right thing, like, okay, I'm gonna let it
and
go, I'm just gonna block her.
and
So
I don't know if you've noticed, but one thing I've noticed is sometimes the most compassionate and kind people are those that grew up with, had a hard time, or
for limited
Yeah,
resources.
experienced or gone through something horrible or something bad,
yeah,
because sadly
yeah,
that's how we learn. I didn't have the best childhood either, but I have learned, and I've gone through a lot of different things that I would not wish anybody to have to go through. But at the same time, I learned a lot, and every day I try to do more, to help others.
yeah,
But
yeah.
you realize it's not just about you, it's about helping others. And of course, you have to
Exactly.
help yourselves. But that's
Yeah,
when we surround ourselves, like you said, with positivity and kindness. And sometimes some people you just can't help. They're not, what I learned was, it's kind of like, I guess that when I was mentoring youth and working with our church a lot, is some people will take this one Bible verse and they'll see it one way, and the next person will see it another way, and the next person. It all depends on where we are at in life, what experiences we've
Exactly.
gone through, on how we're going to see that or
Yeah.
understand. And we're sitting there going at first, like, how in the world, where do they come up with that, until we've gone through something, then we're like, oh, okay, I can understand that now. And then we
Yeah.
look back when somebody doesn't understand it, we're like, well, they've never walked in our shoes, so they have no idea.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. I think that when we experience, and as we get older, we get wiser, and because you experience things that you don't want anybody else to experience. So I think you're right that a lot of people, most of the people I know who are really kind, they have not been walking on easy street. They have come face to face with some tough times and they've had to pull their way out of it. And that's why I love that quote by Ramdas. We're all just walking each other home. Even the gal in India that was so outraged at my post, I just let her go because like I just walking home with her. We're only here for a flash. And
Exactly.
so let's just do our best and let's just get along and let's not judge each other. Who am I to judge? And another thing that Ram Dass says that I really like is, he said, who am I to forgive anybody? Like, who am I to even think that I should have to forgive that person? That person is doing what they do, got nothing to do with me. And I really like that. I mean, I believe very much in forgiveness, but there is a point where like, well, who do I think I am that I have to forgive you because you said something that offended me? Wayne Dyer says that one of the biggest problems is that people get so easily offended. And this is very true.
Very
People
true.
get so, especially in North America, everybody's offended about everything. I mean, I don't even know what you can say anymore. Like, chill out. Chill out. They're just
You looked wrong.
yeah,
You forgot to smile. Who knows?
something, or your smile wasn't right,
Or I liked a
you know,
post, or I didn't like a post, and darn if you do, darn if you don't.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I think, one thing Marianne Williamson said I love quotations and I read a lot, but Marianne Williamson said just before she turned 70, just before me, 6 months before me, and she said something that just resonated so much with me. She said, it feels like until now, everything has been a dress rehearsal.
Oh,
And
love it.
I totally you're right, girl. It's not that I don't care what people think, but I don't really care. Because you see, I know who I am, I know what I do, I know what my gifts are, I know what my faults are. I'm really good at what I do. I couldn't have said that even 3 years ago. Well, I'm pretty good. But now, I don't have time I'm going straight to the point. I know what I'm doing. I'm really good at what I do. Thank God I'm really good at what I do. And it's like there's no more dress rehearsal. It's really cool. Like when you as women, we get to 50s and then we get through in menopause and hormonally we change and we notice a big difference. And then I thought that would be the last one until I got right near my 70th birthday. And I thought, on my 70th birthday, I had a business partner and he completely dropped the ball and he was the CEO, so he had to be in charge of everything. And he completely dropped the ball. And it was coming up to my 70th birthday, and I found out that he hadn't been paying. Still one of problems because they got in touch with him and not me, even though we were equal partners. And the license had expired, and they didn't tell me there. And he was back in Oman. He's an Omani guy, so he was back there, and I don't know anything about this. And then I get this email that I'm going to be deported because I'm in charge with absconding, and to me, absconding means I stole something and I'm running away with it, but it meant because I was here working illegally, and because they had been in touch with him for 3 months, but he wasn't responding to them, but I didn't know that. You see, you either get bitter or better. And I was just turning 70, and I thought, oh, good grief, what am I going to do? I gave up everything in Canada. And I said, I'm going to stay right here, and it's not a dress rehearsal anymore. I'm turning 70. I'm registering. It was Kennedy Communications Studio. It's been that for years, and now it's Hyphen International. That's the Dubai arm. And I just got myself all organized at 70 to get the company here. He's gone, bought him out, changed the name on the license, changed everything. It's now just my name. I'm the sole proprietor. Like, yeah, don't be
Awesome.
scared, just do it, right? And it really made me
Congratulations.
happy. Yeah, and I thought, because again, you get bitter or better, and it's a choice. And I don't want to go back to Canada. I don't really know why. I love it here in Dubai, as we were saying before we started recording. It's so safe. It's very safe for women. Lose your wallet, lose anything, you're always going to get it back. I don't know of anybody yet who has left their iPad or something and not gotten it back, even cash. You always get it back. It's a beautiful place, and it's because that's how people are here. So I don't really want to go, and I just thought, well, I can do it. I can do it. And I guess that's something too, that one reason why I'm here in the Middle East is because I want women to know that you can be my age and be an entrepreneur and still be reinventing yourself. And
Yes.
for all of you who are tired of reinventing yourself, listen up. It's really fun because you just get better every time. One thing too that I really, if I wanted to say something about going back to my days as a skater, one of the best teachers in the world. Do you know why? Because you learn from falling.
Hmm.
You
Yes.
fall, and that ice is hard and it's slippery, and you fall. Matter of fact, when we teach kids to skate, the first thing we teach them is how to stop so they won't slide into the wall
Right.
or the boards. And the second thing is we teach them how to fall.
I remember
Hmm.
that. My daughters took ice skating. They had done roller skating, and then they wanted to ice skate, and they were actually being coached by an Olympic skater. But that was the first thing. And brother, roller skating, ice skate is, like you said, besides stopping, how to fall and
Yeah.
how to fall gracefully. And if we look at, like, when we do fall or we do fail, it's okay. We're learning from it. It's better
And
to
you
know
just
how
get
to
up.
do that, and then instead of just going on. So the
Yeah, you
words.
just got to keep going. Yeah.
John C. Maxwell's books on failing forward. I love it because
Yeah, that's
it's,
true.
yeah,
That's true.
failing forward is just how we get things done and continue progressing. Dean Graziosi always says it's not about perfection, it's about progressing
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
progression. And Patty, definitely, I mean, time goes by
We could go on
super
and on. I
fast,
love it.
but we're
I
having
know. Look,
fun.
And just keep learning and keep growing like you are. You are such a beautiful lady and a beautiful person inside and out, and a great
thank you.
example for all of us. I love it. So
Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing your wisdom with us and taking your time to be
thank you for allowing me, because as I say, the older I get, the more important it becomes to make sure I give it all away. And I love having the opportunity just to chat like this. So thank you so very much, both of you, for all your beautiful comments and for affording me this platform this evening. I
of
really, in my heart, I love it. Thank you.
it's our
And of course,
pleasure.
and we of course would love to even have you back again, because you are so wonderful. So we love that, and I want to say thank you to all of our guests who stepped in, Carrie, Olivia, and for those who will be watching later, because we know it doesn't always hit your time. So
Nadia Burnham is watching right now live. So hello, Nadia. Love
Hi,
it.
Nadia.
so thank you, everyone. We appreciate you. We appreciate you sharing this and your support. So, and we hope you got some golden nuggets. I know I did from Patty.
I took notes.
So thank you so much.
Until we meet again next time. Bye-bye.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, ladies. Really
Thank
loved
you.
it.
You're welcome to stay for a sec if you have time, Patty.
It's a brand new